Hey everyone, my name is Matthew Voshell and I'm a senior product designer. Today we're going to dive into an exciting project I've really recently been working on around password protecting content inside of Framework. I'll walk you through the problem, the original code, my enhancements, edit responsiveness, updated handling, and then we'll kind of go through all the different changes that I made. Let's get started. We'll begin by discussing the problem faced with how Framework currently handles password protection. Basically, Framer only offers site-wide password protection, which is nice, but it doesn't provide the flexibility I want for protecting individual pieces of content on a page-by-page basis. After searching the internet, a custom component called Password Form. It's a component with an override code that was made by Travis Swan a couple years ago. It has a ton of great aspects built into it, and I immediately purchased and folded it into my portfolio. Now, the original component actually utilized basic state hooks like usestate to manage password and validation states. It also employed bcrypt for hashing and comparing passwords, which is standard password practice, but it kind of lacked obfuscation and persistence to really protect that password. So let's dive into the enhancements that I ultimately made. So the first one was around session storage. I wanted to allow the password to be stored securely, used across different sessions without requiring reentry. The user uses the password and jumps from case study to case study. They don't need to re-enter the passwords. Obfuscated display was around displaying the password in a very kind of specific way that I'll go over in a moment. So on the left, you'll see the original code from the password component from Travis, and on the right, you'll see my updated code. And this first one is around the session storage. Basically, the addition of use effect was the function that I leveraged to check for stored passwords in the session storage to ensure that the password is validated upon component mount. This is a significant improvement for user convenience and honestly security, since you're not putting the password in every single time that it could be snipped in some way. For the obfuscated password, I updated the handle password change function and now mask all but the last character of the password. The original component, you couldn't see what you typed at all. And so I modified it so that you could at least see the most recent letter you typed, so you can get a sense of, am I even giving the correct password here? It involves manipulating the input value to show a series of asterisks or dots with the last character remaining visible. The next part is around responsive design and interactivity. The layout now adapts to different screen sizes, which the original component did not. I also wanted to have this component feel like it was more part of the app. And so I wanted the button there to react in the same way that all the other buttons on my site did. So for the responsive design part, you see the original on the left and my fork on the right. Really leverage CSS media queries and dynamic styling in the component to ensure that it looked good for the screen size it was on. For example, changing the flex direction and padding based on the window width. So you can see there that if you're basically on mobile, which is under 768 res, it'll stack it. If else, then it'll go side by side and kind of look like it did in the original there. For the interactive buttons, so this was more around replicating the button styles and interactivity that I had already. So for my buttons on the existing site, there was a hover state and there was a selected state, and then I had multiple types of buttons. The button style that we added in here on the right-hand side now includes hover and active states, which weren't there, and they were implemented through inline styles and CSS classes. This change helped the users understanding when their actions by clicking or hovering and knowing whether or not they're going to take some sort of action. Versus before on the original component, you would mouse over or select the button and basically nothing would happen. You would have no kind of affordance of any kind. Last piece here is enhanced input handling. These are really things that kind of popped up just from testing it that I additionally wanted to add. Real quick point, I am a former cybersecurity network engineer. So security is hopefully something that I used to be pretty decent at and wanted to continue to perpetuate through my design career. And so these last two were really something that just came out of ease of use, to be quite honest. So there was no select all or no way to handle select all in the original code. So this is something that was added inside of actually the code I showed you in the last section. It added event listeners for key down and key up to detect controller command A and manage the selection state. This ensured that bulk actions like selectively all the text are handled smoothly. Whereas the original component, you have to hit backspace a bunch of times. Now you can just type and then hit Control A, delete, and then it goes away, which I thought was pretty nice. As far as the actual style of the button, I aligned both the placeholder text, the padding, and all sorts of other aspects like that, and I align them directly with how I have basically all the other buttons in my site working. The input styles were updated to include better padding, consistent font usage, and clear placeholder text. I also aligned the text with Liber Franklin, which is my kind of text font. So that kind of, and then the button was Montserrat, which is what I use for all my button text. So what are the key changes that I did? So we updated and did the session storage to allow the password to be secured storely, use across different sessions. We updated the obfuscated display to only be the last character type is visible while the rest are masked. We added responsive designs. The layout and style is adjusted based on the window width. We updated the input handling, so select all text, deletes, and the component responds correctly. We added button states so that the button changed color and size, etc. on hover and press. And then lastly, we did style improvements around padding and fonts to ensure that it had a clean look and did not seem different from everything else on the site itself. How does that actually really look, though? Right? I kind of walked through a bunch of things, but how do we actually do something about that? What does it actually mean to kind of do this kind of stuff? So let's take a look. Share this tab and then make it bigger for you. And you can see over here, so this is the original password form file that you can remix after you purchase it. And it comes with really three things. First, three components. The first is the password protected content holder, the password form, which is actually, if you go down here, it's a TSX file. And then there's another override TSX file that basically allows it to dynamically fill the width that you have to apply to the component. You can get a sense and preview the component here, what it looks like, right? So super, 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 super basic. How does it actually work though? So let's go to pages, go to home. So what you'll do is, and the way that they kind of did it was a little different, but you'll have some sort of content, right? You'll place that component, right? You can see here the component on the left. You place that in there, and much like a ticker or a slideshow, you basically just drag it and connect it to the content that you want to show here. Now, the way they're kind of doing it in this site, it's a lot more simplistic, right? You got this simple thing here that's going to show here. I wanted to leverage it for CMS. I had some CMS content that I wanted to dynamically fill utilizing this. And so let's take a look at my site and see what exactly it was that I did differently. So let me open that real quick. All right, so now we're looking at my file, okay? Let me zoom out a little bit. I've got quite a few breakpoints here, but I've got the content hidden here. Now this content is driven by my CMS, right? Depending upon which one you pick here, the content dynamically updates, correct? Okay, now this is normally this is inside of the page itself and it does that. But I wanted a password, so I pulled it out and then I took that, or as you can kind of sort of see the lines there, that I've got my component, which is the password form here, and it's connected directly to this content, yeah? And you can see the difference in how it looks. Now, an interesting thing when you're using code and Framer, so in here, you can see it's obviously not being responsive, right? This is actually not how this page looks. You have to load the page, and then once you do that, then it'll know, and then it'll change. So there's a couple little things in here that you'll notice that it makes it kind of hard to test. You have to kind of play a lot and do that. You won't be able to see it here, but understand that it is still working and it's still doing what it's supposed to be doing. So that's pretty much it. That's password protecting content in Framer. I hope that this video was helpful and it was kind of short and I ran through some stuff, but hopefully you can pause and lift from it what you like. And yeah, I hope you can password protect your content in Framer moving forward and make your portfolio that much more cooler. Yeah. Otherwise, thanks so much. Appreciate your time. Enjoy. See ya.